Hey YouTube, it's the Pied Piper.
Are you listening?
Shut up and sit down.
It's the Pied Piper.
It's my tail and I'm the other one.
Hey YouTube, it's the Pied Piper. Listen to
This YouTube thing, this YouTube situation. Hey YouTube, it's Piper, and I'm sure you have been wondering where I am. All 3 of my subscribers. Just kidding. I have more than 3 subscribers. I haven't been gone that long, but I have been gone for a minute, and my phone is being annoying, so excuse it. I'm not going to do anything with those text messages. Anyway, so it's been a hot minute since I have put out a video, and I'm sure you're wondering, where did I go? What was going on with all my videos? Again, I'm sure everybody's wondering where I was, what happened to all my videos. I was supposed to start doing the literature review that I didn't start, yada yada yada. So it's been a minute, and I'm going to address it in other videos before I start this. I am wearing that new Juvia's Place foundation, and I know they're supposed to be canceled by some people, but as you know, I do not agree with cancel culture, so that's what I'm wearing right now. Excuse my eyeshadow, it went terribly left while I was doing my makeup, so it does not look the way that I thought it was going to look. Anywho, I digress. So a lot was going on with me. I'm still in the process of editing and stuff and some other things that unfortunately have made it so that I don't have a whole bunch of time to edit my videos, but I'm still going to put them up consistently, and I still do have videos that I need to edit and put up right now, but I'm probably going to throw this video in before those ones, and you'll see why. So this Adventures in Dating is a little bit different, and I've been like tossing around like what name to call this video, like what should be the title. Obviously it's Adventures in Dating, but is it like, I really thought that the whole the short and the homely was a really good title because it would be like a play on the bold and the beautiful. If you don't watch soap operas, then you don't know what I'm talking about. So this Adventures in Dating is kind of gonna mesh together or mush together a couple of people that I have dated. So I'm gonna just like splice in specifics, but ultimately it encompasses a couple of different people and not just one individual, and I will mention it when it's a certain individual. So as everybody knows, I'm single, but I've been trying to date. I'm not a great dater, and with so much going on in my life, I just kind of feel like I didn't have the ability to give to a relationship or nurture a relationship, so I haven't really been dating all of that much. And as I've gotten older too, I've discovered that I just have like, my BSO meter is super low. Like you can't get away with some of the stuff that people have gotten away with before with me in the past very easily now. And as you know, I'm into like the whole BDSM stuff, and so it's kind of hard because you have to kind of transition back and forth between dating, vanilla dating is what they call it, and then you transition between dating as far as like the BDSM lifestyle is concerned, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not ultra devoted to dating just only strictly BDSM, and I'm not ultra devoted to dating just vanilla dudes and situations. So I've been doing the whole online dating thing, trying to like cast my net and see what's out there, and I gotta say, like, online dating is super hard because guys are weird, and for some reason guys lie a whole bunch when it comes to online dating. Like they lie about so many things that it's infuriating, and it makes me like not want to be doing that because it's annoying. And sorry, I'm moving around and maybe you can't hear me. I'm going to try to get this done before my air kicks on, but as you know, I'm in Arizona and it is hot here. So I can't just have no air on and try to do a video. It's not going to happen. But anyway, I digress. So I dated, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but when I was younger, I got told that I was shallow. And I think the person who said it was more upset because things didn't work out between us and I didn't want to date that person. Well, I took that to heart because, as most people know, I'm super introspective. And so if someone tells me like, oh, you're shallow, or just even criticizes me, I do stop to think about, is that something that I'm portraying? Is that something that I'm putting off to people without even realizing that that is the energy I'm giving? So I decided, you know what, I'm going to equal opportunity date. So anybody who asks me out on a date, I'm going to go on a date with them. That was when I was way younger though. I probably was in my early 20s still when I did that, maybe even way early 20s. And so the problem with equal opportunity dating is that unfortunately you still hurt a lot of people, and probably more people, because I would do this thing where if any guy asked me on a date, I would give them a chance, any guy. And so I was dating a lot at the time, but I was just dating guys and then breaking their hearts because there would be some guys who like fell head over heels for me, and then I would be like, ugh, get away from me if they tried to be physical, because I was not attracted to them physically at all. After months of doing that and realizing that that was not the ticket, I decided, you know what, looks matter. Is that the complete package? No, but looks matter. Let's be honest. Nobody dates somebody and they're like, I'm looking for the ugliest person I can find. Nobody does that. Most people want to be somewhat physically attracted to the person that they're going to date. But I also did that a little bit for myself too, because I wanted to see, you know, my first love, who shockingly isn't the person who probably thinks they're my first love. They don't realize they're not my first love at all. It was actually a person's a couple years after them that I feel like was my first love. I think that first one I was really just not sure. But the second one was definitely my first love, and I was a little bit shocked by him because he came out of nowhere. He was not somebody that I would normally be attracted to. He was shorter than I usually like. He just had a lot of characteristics that I just normally wasn't attracted to. But I ended up meeting him and his friend at the same time, and then for whatever reason, they both kind of asked for my number. Nobody in particular asked for it, so I just kind of handed it over to both of them. And this was when I was really young, right before my equal opportunity dating. So I did that, and then one of the guys calls me that night. I was still a teenager at the time too, but we talked on the phone for hours, and it was just so magical. It was everything you want your dating experience to be. And we had so many things in common. We liked a lot of the same music. Our ideals were a lot the same. It was really impressive. And so he asked me on a double date, and he said, hey, can you get a friend for my friend? And I'm thinking, sure. And I asked one of the girls that I worked with, because I was a teenager still, so I think I was working at a movie theater, and so I asked her to go with me, and I'm thinking that it's this one guy, and he was taller, blonde hair, blue eyes, my usual at that time. And so it was kind of funny because I realized at that moment when we met them, it wasn't the guy that I thought I was talking to. It was actually the shorter one with, you know, darker hair, glasses. Like, he just was so not what I was used to, and he was definitely not over 6 feet. And as you know, I am one of those women who is small and petite. I'm 5'2". I'm very, very slender, and so I like a man who I feel like is tall. You know, you got to be at least 6 feet tall to ride this ride. And so I was thinking it's going to be the blonde hair, blue-eyed, tall one, and it turns out it was the short, like 5'8", probably 5'9", and he had brown hair and glasses, and it was him. That was the one that had been talking to me. And so after I had adjusted my expectations and like realized that, oh crap, I gotta date this one now, I just went with it. And he wasn't ugly by any means. He wasn't unattractive. He just wasn't my normal type that I was immediately attracted to. He was totally out of my norm. Once we hung out and we were on this date, I realized, like, man, you know, he actually is exactly my type, and I like his voice. And so that will lead into this whole Adventures in Dating. So just, you know, that's just a little story about how this all came to be. So after him and I broke up and we're no longer together, and he was great, you know, like I said, he was my first love. He was the first guy that I remember thinking to myself, I don't care if he becomes paraplegic. I don't care if anything that happens to him, I will ride this ride. You know, like, I was so down for him. And that was, when I was younger, was my key to knowing that I was in love, was that it didn't matter what happened to him, I would take care of him. Like, I just wanted him in my world, and everything about him I liked. Even when he was annoying, I liked it. I just thought, like, I'd rather be annoyed by him than somebody else. And so that was kind of how I realized, like, hey, I must really love this person. So that means the person before I didn't love at all. So now let's flash forward several years down the road, and a few decades. I'm not telling you how old I was, and I'm not telling you how old I am now, even though my birthday's coming up soon. Anyway, I'm still gonna be in my 30s. So as you know, I said in one of my other videos, like, life has been really difficult over the last few years for me. I've literally had all of my worst fears recognized, and so it's been really hard for me to get out there and like date people. But there have been a few here and there, and some that I thought would absolutely work, and some that I was just like, no, it's not going to end up working, and then some that were just never going to work because they were absolutely not a good fit for me. So I discovered that with online dating, the biggest issues, and most of the time, most of the people that I have ever ever dated have been people that I met in person first, or like met through a friend, or met, while driving, met at a grocery store, met at the mall. I've always met people in person, and so I've never had a problem with meeting people in person. But then when I got a little older and I wanted to meet somebody with substance and wanted to settle down and have more of like a true relationship, I thought, oh, well, if you go online, you can put that in your bio, and if you put that in your bio, then only people who want what you want will write you. Oh, how wrong I was. Because most of the time, what dudes do is they look through all the pictures and they go, hot, 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 damn, hot, 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 whoa. And then they write you and they say something dumb. And not everybody says something dumb, but for the most part, it's usually like come-ons and stuff like that. You can't really take all that serious. And a lot of guys will say like, oh, I bet girls get hit up all the time on these, dating sites. And I'm like, I do, but that's just quantity. That's not quality at that point. It's just everybody, like literally just anybody who looked at my pictures sometimes. And so they don't read my profile, so they have no idea what I've said in it. They're just like, yeah, I like this, she's amazing, and then they write and they don't care. I'm not that way. When I am scrolling through and looking at people, I'm looking at their bio first. I'm looking at, are they a smoker, are they a non-smoker, what kind of body do they say they have, what kind of humor do they have, all of that. Have they ever been married, are they divorced, all of that stuff I look at. And because catfishing is still a very real thing, I always look at the way they describe themselves, because I have come to notice that men will, like especially these catfish men, they will put up a profile of somebody that's not them, like they've stolen the pictures obviously, but because they're not used to having to describe themselves as who they're pretending to be, if you look under their like eye color and ethnicity, hair color, height, anything like that, body type, if you look in there, because they don't realize that they still have to keep up with what they're pretending to be, they will out themselves in those little parts by putting their actual description. So if you see a hot guy picture, let's say he's like 6'3" in the picture, or at least the picture looks like he's probably tall, very well built, blonde hair, blue eyes, gorgeous, and like an Adonis. And then you go and you read their description of themselves and it says hair color brown, eye color hazel, or something like that. And so they never describe themselves like the person they're pretending to be. And I have learned that that helps me avoid being catfished. And it doesn't hurt that a lot of the time they use people that I totally know who those real people are, and it just so happens that's how it works. Even a friend of mine was having his picture used on there, and like he reached out to me on a dating site. This guy did, that was pretending to be my friend, and I told my friend, I was like, hey, are you on this dating site? He's like, no. I was like, oh, just so you know, some dude is using your pictures. So anyway, online dating, it's tricky. Be careful with online dating. Always read everything, because that is how you avoid being catfished. At least it has been for me. I don't know what yours is, and if you have something that helps you avoid being catfished, if you've ever online dated, put that in the comment. Anyway, I have met people though, like not just on dating apps specifically, but like Instagram and back in the day MySpace, and it was just kind of funny that that's how people do it now, and it's just like all the rage. I'm very much from the generation where it was still kind of taboo to date online, so it's just always been a little weird for me. And so even though I've like dabbled, I just never wanted to commit to that, because I felt like, it's just so easy to be deceived. So I read that stuff because I don't trust that the pictures are going to always depict what it actually is. But once I read their profile and then I see the pictures of them, it'll kind of determine whether I am truly attracted or I think that I'm mildly attracted to them. And I usually do not respond to guys who are just absolutely hot in their pictures online. And I know what you're thinking. You're going to be like, why wouldn't you respond to a dude who's so hot and he reaches out to you? Because what I have learned is that if a guy is super hot, chances are he just takes really good pictures. And when you see him, when you meet him, he's going to not live up to the pictures at all. And you're going to be very disappointed. So I usually go for the middle ground. Not quite Quasimodo and not quite Brad Pitt. They're just right in the middle. So yeah, I usually go for a guy who's just mildly attractive, because then, of course my phone's going off right now, ignore it, because I'm still going to power through this. So it's like I go for the guys who are just the middle of the road on purpose, because I think that at least I'm not having my expectations like here, and then I meet them and it's like down here, and then I'm devastated, and I feel like I wasted a good face day on that dude. So I usually don't date short guys. Like, I just don't. I'm 5'2", I'm very little, and I kind of have this thing, and I've mentioned it in many of my other videos, that I like a very, overwhelming, dominant guy. And if you're 5'2" or 5'5" or something, as much as I think you could still be very attractive, I don't feel, that dominance, that safety that I would feel. And it's just a preference. Obviously, if I met the man of my dreams and he was 5'5", we would just have to deal with that. So I'm definitely not shallow in that regard, but if I'm going solely based off of my preferences, especially when I'm not meeting the person first, I kind of have to stick to what I know and the preferences that I have so that I don't end up wasting a whole lot of time, So anyway, a couple of people I have dated have been outside of that, and for whatever reason, they've been outside of that. One guy I met online, and he was great online, and we exchanged numbers because I'm like, whatever, we could text. We meet, and he just looked different than what I thought he was going to look like, just super different. And I'm like, how old are your pictures? And I know that's gonna sound so shallow, but I was like, I don't understand. But he wasn't like butt ugly. So I was like, okay, let's see what we have to deal with. So I'm thinking, okay, their personality is definitely gonna bring them up to like way more attractive. So we meet in person and we talk, and his personality is great. We had a lot in common, and so I think, okay, great, yeah, we can date and I can give this a chance. Turns out I should never have gone against my initial opinion because I am a very intuitive person. I guess I'm a Cancer, and I don't believe in the whole like astrological thing, but I definitely have an intuitive nature, and I'm very good at ignoring my intuition and deciding to like power through because I never want to be judgmental. I never want to be that person. So I just powered through knowing that this person wasn't exactly what I would be attracted to. And then as time went on, I'm learning more and more about them, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't like you at all. So then it makes me feel dumb for having settled because I'm like, here, I settled and now you're also this way, so it really sucks. And that guy had a lot of problems. Like, he was weird and still like, and living with his baby's mama's mom and with his baby's mama, his life was a mess. So I thought it was hilarious that he was like judging me at all, because I'm like, look at you, bro, you are not that special. Now, more recently, I am very big on not dating guys who are separated or married. Obviously, the married parts is understandable, but I know a lot of people are like, why won't you date a guy who's separated? If he's separated, doesn't that mean that he's, ready to move on? No, it doesn't. Sometimes people just got separated. Sometimes some people are to themselves, they're separated, but to their significant other, they have no idea they're separated. And it's also just like a slippery slope. I don't think I've ever done an Adventures in Dating where I discuss or the demise of my friendship with one of my very best friends from high school. And it's not the person that I did the best friend tag with a long time ago. It was a guy. We were best friends, and a lot of things went down with that. And I don't know if I ever did an Adventures of Dating about it, but if you want to hear that story, I'll get into it another date and time. So I don't date guys who are separated or married, and definitely not separated, because in my mind, and I know that this doesn't make a whole bunch of sense, but to me it makes perfect sense. If a guy is separated, I don't know how long he's been separated. I don't know what that relationship is like, and I don't know if they're just rebounding or if this has been something that they just knew was absolutely over. And I look at it like there's just too many uncertainties when you decide to date someone who's separated. And I also don't want to feel like a homewrecker. I'm fairly religious. Even if I have my issues with organized religion, I'm very, very much a Christian, and so when I don't beat people over the head with that or anything, and you don't have to be a Christian to like me. But I personally don't want to be a homewrecker. I look at it like, if you're separated, that means what if there's a chance that your relationship could work out? And if that's true, am I standing in the way of that working out? And I don't want to be that girl. And I also don't want to be the woman who falls head over heels for a guy who ends up saying, I'm going to give my marriage a second chance, and then you're crushed after that. I just don't want to set myself up for that kind of disappointment. So I intentionally steer clear of married guys at all, because to me, married and separated are the same thing. So I just don't. Now, somebody I dated recently decided to fib on that one and say that he actually is divorced, but it turned out that he was married. And he did divulge that to me immediately. Like, the very first time we talked on the phone, he did say, oh yeah, I'm actually not divorced, I'm separated. And I was annoyed, because when I usually get contacted by people that are separated, I just delete them immediately, and I don't even waste the time communicating, because I just look at it like, get back to me when you're actually single, and through that whole thing. Because what if our relationship goes well? I don't want to have to have it hamstrung by the fact that you're already married. And I'm petty. I want to be the only one with your last name. I don't want everybody walking around with your last name. And obviously that's looking too far into the future, but you got to look at the whole picture, and if you're going to be happy about that. that, and I just wouldn't. And as you get older, you get a lot more sure of what you're willing to put up with and what you are willing to accept. And as I talk, I'm spitting everywhere. What is up with that? Anyway, so this guy, he also was a little bit shorter than what I was expecting also. And he was a different body type than I'm normally attracted to. There's just a lot of different things. But because he was up front, I thought, okay, let me give this a chance. And I know what you're thinking, why? And I'm asking myself that same question right now. Why? But I did. I gave it a chance. He's ex-military, and turns out that his ex-military situation was a lot deeper than what he originally told me about it. And so I was like, okay, I'll just ride past that. And that is a red flag. If those kind of lies are being dropped off, you should really pay attention to those. And even though he did out himself pretty quickly about being married still and not having been with his, estranged wife for like 2 years, I still was very much like, I should have listened to my gut when my gut was like, this dude lied to you. You shouldn't talk to him. And I know what you're going to say, like, oh, well, he was outed himself and it was just it wasn't. Like, it actually does say something about that person's character. And then as we talked, he was very honest with his past and with some things that he did in his past and some of his past relationships. So he'd been married twice already, and he had kids, which I don't care about because I love kids, so whatever. But it also was just really, we did have a lot in common. And the first night we talked a lot and for a long time, and I felt like we were kindred spirits. So we ended up going on a date that I was severely late on, but I did let him know way before I was late that I think we should move the time because I already knew I was running late and I had to wash all my stuff because, as you guys know, I have allergies like a beast. I'm allergic to everything, and unfortunately I had a really bad allergic reaction and I had to wash everything in my house. So it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought, and that's why I ended up being late for our date. But we ended up going out, and again, I met him face to face. He just was a little different than what I was expecting, but at the same time I was thinking to myself, girl, you are, beggars can't be choosers. And I wasn't begging. That was a red flag too. I wasn't begging. But I was like, we had a really good conversation, and after I get to see him in person and like see the way he speaks and his mannerisms and things, maybe that will make it better. So what he lacks in some of the things that I normally go for, it'll open that up. And so it's like, okay, I pep talk myself and I let that happen. And we had a really good date. I felt really great about it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I felt great about it. And I just kept telling myself, okay, we can power through these things. And, I just really was kind of sad because I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to prejudge people. I don't want to overly be this girl who's just kind of nitpicking at people and to the point where nobody lives up to my expectations, Like, I don't want to do that. So I always have like a buffer or a margin of cons that are acceptable. But one of my biggest cons is being married. That is a red flag. That is a deal breaker for me. And I usually do not override that. And so, for whatever reason, I don't even know why. He must gave some really good conversation because I ended up overriding that for him. And I liked him. He had this accent that I was so enamored with, which you guys all know I love accents. So, of course, I was like, yeah, this accent, still bonus. I'm in. And I did tell him, though, I was very open with him, and I did tell him that until you're divorced, our relationship can't be any more serious. Because it won't be as serious as it can be or could be until you are completely divorced. So, and I thought he understood that, but as weeks went on and I would mention things or even just bring it up because I'm trying to feel him out, especially because he is telling me things like he's really interested in me and, he wants to change my life and show me and treat me the way that no man has ever treated me and blah, 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 lip service. So because he was telling me that, though, I did really think like, okay, and he was opening up, and so I thought, okay, like maybe he is real with this and he wants to be with me. He wants to do these things. And so, but I did notice is that he would get upset when I would bring up his marriage and stuff, but it was only to remind him whenever he would get more serious that, hey, that's still a deal breaker for me. So you need to figure that out if you want our relationship to move forward faster. And if you want me to ever tell you if I have any feelings for you, I need to know for sure that you are not married still before I put my emotions out there like that and on that level for you. And I know what some people are thinking, like, you shouldn't do that. But I was very honest and let him know that that's what I needed. And he would get angry and get so mad. Why do you have to bring that up? And I'm like, because you're married? because I'm not stupid. You are still married, so that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm not being a jerk. I'm just stating a fact. Why are you so mad about it? But he did tell me that it was a very tumultuous relationship, and so I did not want to be a jerk and be like constantly bringing it up. And so I really tried hard not to bring it up. I only brought it up when I felt like things were getting to a place, at least definitely for him, saying all these things. And as much as we started hanging out and talking and stuff, I'm telling him more and more about my life and more about my experiences. And he is, promising that he wants to show me a different life and show me, how a man treats his woman. And so I'm really trying to have faith that this guy really means that stuff. But I did need to bring it back down to reality a little bit and say, hey, this is wonderful, but you have got to be divorced, because if I am going to have any feelings for you, I cannot share those with you until you are divorced. So that's where that ends off pretty much. But
Shut up and sit down.